What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Francis Ngannou is eager to return to MMA, and his coach has confirmed that the former heavyweight champion is serious about stepping back into competition. In a recent interview, Ngannou's head coach Eric Nicksick shared an encouraging update, revealing that Ngannou has already expressed a strong desire to fight again and is preparing his body for a potential comeback. According to Nicksick, the two recently spoke, and Ngannou made his intentions clear. He told his coach that he wants to come back and fully recommit to MMA. Nicksick explained that the focus now is getting everything in place before any fight is officially booked, making sure Ngannou's body is in a comfortable and ready state. What stood out most in the update was Ngannou's physical condition. Despite being away from MMA competition, Nicksick said Ngannou is in outstanding shape. In fact, he described him as being the lightest he has ever seen him. During a recent FaceTime call, Nicksick immediately noticed how lean and sharp Ngannou looked, pointing out that his face appeared more chiseled than usual. Nicksick added that Ngannou's knee is feeling good, which has allowed him to return to road work and daily training. His weight has dropped, his conditioning is improving, and his overall routine looks like that of an active fighter rather than someone on hiatus. That progress gave Nicksick confidence that something serious may be developing behind the scenes. Ngannou also hinted that he is working on a few things, suggesting discussions are ongoing regarding his next move. While nothing is confirmed, Nicksick said the hope is to see Ngannou back inside the cage sometime in 2026. From his perspective, the future remains wide open. On a personal level, Nicksick admitted he would love to see Ngannou compete in the UFC again because of the elite level of competition available there. However, he made it clear that no opponent can be overlooked. He specifically mentioned Vadim Nemkov, praising his recent performance and emphasizing that any matchup would require full respect and preparation. No matter who stands across from Ngannou, Nicksick says the team will be ready. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Bryce Mitchell has shared a new conspiracy theory that has quickly caught attention online. The UFC featherweight claims that many of the biggest podcasts in the world are inflating or outright faking their view counts, and he believes his own experience proves it. Mitchell pointed to the launch of his podcast as the main example. He explained that his very first episode, which included controversial remarks, suddenly gained massive attention and racked up millions of views across platforms. According to Mitchell, the episode went worldwide almost instantly, drawing reactions from people everywhere and creating what he described as global discussion. However, he claims everything changed immediately after that. Mitchell said his second episode, which followed the first, barely reached a few thousand views. To him, the sudden drop made no sense and led him to believe that censorship and manipulation were at play behind the scenes. Mitchell went further, claiming that many popular podcasters with tens of millions of views per episode are not what they appear to be. He alleged that these figures are controlled or protected and suggested that their success is artificially boosted. In his view, the podcast industry is not as organic as fans are led to believe. He said that after only 6 months in the podcast space, he realized that something felt off. Mitchell claimed that his first episode had hundreds of millions of views and widespread agreement, aside from a small group of critics who were offended. Yet immediately afterward, the visibility disappeared. Mitchell described the shift as proof that voices are being censored once they reach a certain point. He argued that the system decides who gets heard and who does not, regardless of real audience interest. In his words, the drop from massive attention to near silence could not be a coincidence. He closed his message with a warning and a rallying tone, saying that people should stay strong despite being mocked or dismissed. Mitchell expressed confidence that voices like his will eventually be heard, even if that moment has not arrived yet. He framed the situation as a larger fight over free expression and influence, insisting that suppression cannot last forever. While his claims remain controversial, Bryce Mitchell made it clear that he believes the truth will surface in time and that he has no intention of backing down. Moving on to another news, Ariel Helwani went off on Kamaru Usman following a controversial video that sparked heavy backlash online. The situation began when footage was uploaded to Kamaru Usman's YouTube channel, showing him on FaceTime with Anthony Joshua shortly after a tragic accident in which 2 of Joshua's close friends lost their lives. The clip immediately drew criticism, with many people arguing that the conversation should have remained private. Kamaru Usman later responded by saying he did not realize he was being filmed and had not properly watched the video before it was released. Ariel Helwani, however, made it clear that he does not believe that explanation. Helwani Helwani explained that he first saw the video on Thursday and was stunned by what he was watching. The footage showed Kamaru Usman sitting cage-side at an event, openly speaking with Anthony Joshua on FaceTime. Viewers could clearly hear Joshua talking about the tragedy and the loss of his friends. Helwani said his immediate reaction was concern over whether Anthony Joshua even knew he was being recorded. According to Helwani, it was obvious that Joshua was not ready to speak publicly and likely did not know those words would become his first public comments about such a life-altering and devastating event. Helwani pointed out how strange the interaction felt, especially when Kamaru Usman commented on how crazy it was that they were meeting this way, despite the fact that they had never spoken or met before. Helwani was particularly disturbed by Kamaru Usman's tone during the call. He recalled Usman saying things like how scary the situation was and how relieved he was that everything was okay. Helwani pushed back hard on that, emphasizing that 2 people had died and that there was nothing to celebrate or frame lightly. Wanting clarity, Helwani said he asked around to find out whether Anthony Joshua knew he was being filmed. What he was told made things worse. Helwani was informed that it was highly unlikely Joshua knew he was being recorded, and even more unlikely that he knew the clip would be shared publicly in a video blog. When Helwani later saw Kamaru Usman tweet that it completely slipped his mind that the conversation was recorded, he said he did not believe it for a second. Helwani argued that if someone had done the same thing to Usman during the prime of his career, he would have been furious. Helwani concluded by saying that if you choose to play the media game, you must understand the responsibility that comes with it, especially when someone is dealing with a tragic and deeply personal loss. Moving on to another news, Jiri Prochazka has made it clear he is not happy with the UFC's latest post on X. The promotion announced that Prochazka was named Comeback of the Year following his win over Khalil Roundtree Jr. at UFC 320, but the former champion does not agree with that label. According to Prochazka, the victory should not be viewed as a comeback at all. He explained that he recently re-watched the fight and felt he was in control from start to finish. While acknowledging that Roundtree had moments of success with his techniques, Prochazka emphasized that he dictated the pace throughout the contest. He stated that he controlled the distance, rhythm, and precision of his strikes, showing a level of dominance that does not fit the idea of a comeback performance. In his view, the fight reflected consistency and growth rather than a return from adversity. Prochazka still expressed appreciation for the recognition, but wanted to correct the narrative surrounding the award. He believes the label takes away from the actual performance and the technical control he displayed inside the cage. With the win behind him, Prochazka says his focus is now on taking the step forward. Time to raise his level. Moving on to another news, Ariel Helwani has strongly criticized Dana White following the UFC president's recent appearance on CBS Mornings, where he was promoting UFC 324. Helwani said the interview made it clear to him that Dana White has become increasingly disconnected from the MMA community and no longer seems as invested in the sport as he once was. Helwani explained that he was not trying to be overly negative or nitpick every detail of the interview. Instead, he said he was genuinely surprised by how disinterested Dana White appeared while discussing the UFC product on such a major mainstream platform. According to Helwani, this was not a hostile interview or a difficult setting. It was a soft, friendly environment, similar to a Good Morning America-style segment designed to help sell the biggest stories in the sport. What stood out most to Helwani was how Dana White handled questions about Amanda Nunes versus Kayla Harrison, a fight White himself labeled as the greatest women's fight of all time. When asked to explain why the matchup deserved that title, Helwani felt Dana White failed to articulate even the most basic selling points. Helwani pointed out that Dana White struggled to properly highlight Kayla Harrison's background, briefly mentioning her medals, but failing to clearly state that she is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He also noted that White did not bring up key narrative elements such as the fighters being former teammates, Amanda Nunes coming out of retirement, or the broader historical significance of the matchup. According to Helwani, these are the kinds of details that make fights compelling to both hardcore fans and casual viewers. He emphasized that this fight, in particular, is incredibly easy to sell, yet the interview lacked passion, clarity, and storytelling. Helwani said the moment left him stunned, especially considering the scale of the platform and the importance of UFC 324. In his view, This was a missed opportunity to connect with a wider audience and showcase why the sport matters. He concluded by saying that the interview felt flat and uninspired, reinforcing his belief that Dana White is no longer as tuned in to the emotional and cultural side of MMA as he once was. Moving on to another news, Paul Felder has pushed back hard on Khamzat's recent call-out of Alex Pereira for the proposed UFC White House card in June. Felder reacted to the idea during a breakdown, pointing out several serious issues the UFC would face if the fight were to become a reality. Khamzat has openly called for a jump straight to 205 pounds for a champion versus champion showdown, despite not having defended his middleweight title even once. According to Felder, that alone creates immediate problems. From a competitive standpoint, skipping a first title defense for a massive cross-division fight does not sit right, especially with legitimate contenders waiting their turn. Felder explained that the first challenge is title logistics. If Khamzat moves up permanently, does the UFC force him to vacate the middleweight belt, or do they allow him to hold on to it while chasing a second title? In Felder's view, making exceptions for megafights can damage divisional integrity if it becomes a habit. The second and bigger issue, according to Felder, is timing. Khamzat has not proven himself as an active defending champion yet. Jumping divisions before establishing a reign feels premature, particularly when contenders like Imavov are ready and deserving of a title opportunity. Felder admitted that stylistically, he actually likes Khamzat's chances against Pereira if the fight ever happens. Still, he stressed that personal excitement should not override fairness within the division. For Felder, super fights only make sense after a champion has defended the belt multiple times. He added that if Khamzat were 2 or 3 defenses into his reign, the conversation would be completely different. At that point, Felder would fully support a jump to light heavyweight. Until then, he sees himself as the voice urging caution whenever champions try to leapfrog contenders. As the middleweight picture continues to shift, the UFC also confirmed another major bout. Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer is now official as the main event for UFC Seattle on March 28th. This marks a big moment for Adesanya, who is returning after a rough stretch that included a knockout loss to Imavov. Adesanya will be looking to re-establish himself among the elite and remind fans why he once ruled the division. Meanwhile, Felder believes the UFC must balance spectacle with structure, especially when massive cards like the White House event are involved. He concluded by saying that if Khamzat is allowed to chase Pereira, the UFC must clearly define what happens next, whether that means an unbezetted title defense afterward or a forced vacancy. For Felder, clarity and fairness should always come before hype. Moving on to another news, Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes has officially been canceled for UFC 324, dealing a major blow to the card. Kayla Harrison has reportedly withdrawn from her scheduled bantamweight title defense after suffering a neck injury that may require surgery. According to early reports, the injury is serious enough that Harrison will be sidelined for an extended period, though an exact timeline for her return has not yet been confirmed. Surgery is believed to be on the table, which would explain the decision to pull her from such a high-profile matchup. At this stage, it remains unclear what the UFC plans to do next. The promotion has not announced whether Amanda Nunes will receive a replacement opponent or if the fight will simply be rescheduled for a later date once Harrison is healthy. The cancellation is a significant setback, as the bout was viewed as one of the biggest women's fights the UFC could make. For now, UFC 324 loses a major attraction, and the future of the matchup remains uncertain. Moving on to another news, Renato Moicano believes the UFC may need to call on Alex Pereira once again to rescue UFC 324 from losing momentum. With the card facing uncertainty after a major withdrawal, Moicano suggested that Pereira is the one star capable of keeping the event on track and delivering the kind of impact the promotion desperately needs. UFC 324 recently took a hit when bantamweight champion Kayla Harrison was forced to pull out of her scheduled co-main event against Amanda Nunes. Harrison is set to undergo neck surgery and is expected to be sidelined for several months, leaving the bout in limbo. While the card is still headlined by an interim lightweight title fight between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett, Moicano feels that matchup alone is not enough for such a crucial show. According to Moicano, UFC 324 carries enormous importance as the promotion's first ever event on Paramount+. He argued that the pressure is immense, especially with the reported $7 billion deal tied to the new broadcast partnership. In his view, relying on Gaethje versus Pimblett does not send a strong enough message to casual fans or new subscribers. Moicano explained that hardcore fans will tune in regardless, but the wider audience needs recognizable stars. Names like Pereira, Ilya, or Khamzat are the kind of attractions that drive mass interest. Without them, he fears the card lacks true spectacle. For Moicano, the answer is simple: bring in Pereira, even if it means moving him up to heavyweight on short notice. He went as far as predicting that Pereira would accept such a challenge and defeat Ciryl Gane, accomplishing something unprecedented by becoming a heavyweight champion. Moicano pointed out that Pereira has already proven he can step in under difficult circumstances and deliver when the UFC needs him most. Moicano also addressed the recent comments from Dana White, who teased major announcements before ultimately revealing Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer for UFC Seattle. The muted reaction to that news only reinforced Moicano's belief that a bigger fight was planned but fell apart at the last moment. In his view, the UFC scrambled after Harrison's injury and used smaller announcements as a temporary solution. Moicano believes Pereira versus Ciryl was originally targeted for a later event, but circumstances may now force the UFC to fast-track it. He concluded by saying that if Pereira does save the card, he deserves to be paid accordingly. In Moicano's words, Pereira is building his aura, delivering every time, and once again positioning himself as the man who can carry the UFC when it matters most.